Our Zoom, our meeting is being recorded. Thank you so much. We are going to reconvene open session in accordance with board policy. This announcement is to advise all attendees that tonight's meeting is being recorded. Persons wishing to address the board on any agenda or non-agenda item must fill out the speaker card. Individuals that would like to address the Board of Trustees should email Velma Silva at velmasilva@sylvan.k12.ca.us by 6:50 the evening of the board meeting and provide the following speaker card information: name, address, phone number, clarify if you're a parent, community member, staff member, or all of the above, school, and the agenda item. Reporting out of closed session. Hold on. Excuse me. Direction was given to staff regarding all matters. Also in closed session, the board took action to approve a revised settlement agreement regarding a confidential student matter in a special education dispute, resolving all issues in dispute by the following vote: ayes, Mr. Raw, Ms. Talcott, Ms. Lindsay, and myself, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Miyakawa was in absence. Thank you so much. And I'd like to see a motion to report to adopt this week's agenda. Mr. Raw, I see your hand up.
Yes, just a point of clarification,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
In the past, when the president was absent, do we need to make you acting president for the time? And then do we need to have a vice president, a temporary one just for the meeting done? I don't know if that's the case or not, Velma.
It is. I was told it was after the agenda, but
okay, fine.
But no, let's do it now. Let's do it now.
Okay.
Let's see. I'd like to, with the absence of our current president, we need a motion to be made to make the vice president the acting president for the meeting of today.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Ms. Lindsay and second by Mr. Raw. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay.
Aye.
Board Member Raw.
Aye.
Board Member Talcott.
Aye.
Board Member Harvey.
Aye. Thank you. The ayes have it. And then to then put in a acting vice president.
Who's the next one in line?
I believe it's
Velma?
the esteemed Miss Lindsay.
Okay.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to put Mrs. Lindsay in for this meeting to be the vice president.
Second, approved by Mr. Raw, seconded by Ms. Talcott.
Board
Motion
Member
carries.
Lindsay.
Thank you.
Aye.
Board Member Raw.
Aye.
Board Member Talcott.
Aye.
Board Member Harvey.
Aye. So the ayes have it. Congratulations, Ms. Lindsay, for being the vice president, a position you have held many times, I am sure, and do an amazing job at. So thank you.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do tonight, but maybe I'll run around the living room a couple of times.
That sounds great. I think that's what vice presidents do. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Raw, for that clarification. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay.
Aye.
Board Member Raw.
Aye.
Board Member Talcott.
Aye.
Board Member Harvey.
Aye. The agenda has been adopted. And now we get to do the honor of saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would please stand and point themselves towards the nearest flag. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. At this point, we are going to move on to the topic of communications. Are there any at this time?
At this point, we don't have any written communications. That's not part of public participation, but no written communication.
Okay, and then public hearing for sufficiency of instructional materials?
Yeah, Dr. Fong?
Yes, in order to receive funding for instructional materials from the state in any fiscal year in which the superintendent of public instruction determines that that is acceptable, the Education Code 60119 specifies that governing board shall hold a public hearing at which the governing board shall make a determination through a resolution as to whether each pupil in the school district has or will have prior to the end of that fiscal year sufficient textbooks or instructional materials in each subject that is consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the state board. So we would like to hold that public hearing.
Public participants, individuals that would like to address the board trustees should email Velma Silva at vsilva@sylvan.k12.ca.us by 6:50 the evening of the board meeting, and provide the following speaker card information: name, address, phone number, parent, community members or staff member, school, and agenda topic. Do we have any participation at this point?
Ms. Harvey, you need to open the hearing and then close the hearing. for the-
Okay, thank you so much for that
You're welcome.
clarification. I would like to open the hearing. Are there any public participants who would like to address the board on this topic?
I don't have any emails.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will then close the hearing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Moving on, the superintendent's update.
Well, actually, at this point, we would do C, which is public participation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I am being schooled and I appreciate that.
That is okay. So it would be if Velma had any that were submitted.
I did. I received 5. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with the first one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. The first one. Good evening. I would like to start by briefly sharing a recent experience I had. My son goes to Woodrow Elementary School. Woodrow is one of the after-school childcare program sites for Sylvan Union Childcare. My son had previously attended the after-school childcare program on the Somerset campus. He was placed in a classroom for children that needed more attention because he has a history of showing aggression. He was in first grade at the time. This year, when I signed up for after-school care, I requested he be able to stay on the Woodrow campus because of the vast improvements and progress he has made, not just academically, but socially, physiologically, in maturity level, and in his ability to control himself. He is currently in 3rd grade. My request was denied by the program director, Ms. Sarah Calderon. I cited his improvements and stressed the importance of providing children with the opportunity to succeed on their own merit. I explained that I didn't want my children prejudged or labeled based on behaviors from a year and a half ago. I explained that I, along with his teachers and support staff, have confidence that he is capable of succeeding in a standard after-school care environment. After speaking with the program staff, Ms. Calderon's decision remained the same. I was able to meet with the Director of Student Services and Director of Human Resources, Carrie Albert and Teddy Vappel. I voiced my request and explained my reasons for this request. After I left the meeting, Ms. Albert informed me she would speak again to Ms. Calderon about the situation, but the decision would most likely stand. I reiterated that I simply wanted my son to be given a chance to show his growth. I explained that if he was unable to succeed, I would be willing to work with the childcare staff. I asked for information regarding Ms. Calderon and other school childcare staff credentials for working with children, specifically children with special needs. Initially, I was told the information would not be available. Then I was told Ms. Vappel would look into the matter further, and I would be contacted with more information. I have not had further communication regarding the requested information. I asked for this information because Ms. Calderon spoke with trained special education staff who felt my son could be successful. However, at the time, her decision remained the same. Later that day, I received a call from Ms. Albert informing me that Ms. Calderon has reconsidered and was willing to give him a chance. I share this story to you, the parents struggle when trying to advocate for one's child. I feel children should be supported and given opportunities to grow and succeed when faced with new challenges. No child is perfect, but every child deserves a chance to succeed. My other reason for sharing is this, that I find it concerning that a parent's request for information about staff educational level and credentials was not filled. I would like to know why, who is caring for my children, and that they have been properly trained to do so. Tonight, I would like to request the credentialing information about the after-school childcare staff, including the program director. I am requesting this information being made available to all parents so we can all be confident in the staff to whom we entrust our children. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Miriam Alves. Okay, the next speaker card. Sylvan Union School District leadership and members of the board. My name is Melissa Stone, and I'm a 15-year educator with 2 children who attend school in Sylvan Union School District. My daughter, Tatum Stone, is a 1st grader at Crossroads. My son, Jackson Stone, is a 3rd grader at Standiford. Unfortunately, my children do not attend the same school because my son is in an autism special day class, SDC, which is not provided at our neighborhood school. I also serve as Sylvan's parent representative for the Community Advisory Committee, CAC, for Stanislaus County, SELPA. This leads me to the purpose of my letter. I am aware that Sylvan is hiring a new director of special education. I implore you to take this opportunity to select a candidate for this position that will make positive changes for special education in this district that children deserve. I will start with the knowledge, experience, and traits that our new director of special education should encompass. The ideal candidate should first and foremost be able to demonstrate empathy. According to a study by the University of Wisconsin, mothers of children with autism experience stress comparable to a combat veteran. Our new director should be aware of the hardships many of us face and be kind. Be able to efficiently and promptly communicate with families is imperative. Building strong and trusting relationship is key in collaboration with families. You will notice family engagement increase when parents feel valued and informed. The candidate should also have knowledge of evidence-based practices like University Design for Learning, UDL, to help our students have access to a rigorous curriculum. Last but not least, our new director should be innovative and have a growth mindset to help propel the district to be a leader in inclusivity by providing rich social and academical experiences for our students. Trying to reform special education within the district isn't something new for me. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an active member of the CAC. The Parent Advisory Committee, PAC, was a result of a meeting I had regarding the need to increase family engagement. I had meetings of the former director since my son started with Sylvan, Mitch Wood, and then most recently, Don Morey. I also met with Laura Granger and Deborah Hendricks to address my concerns. Both Ms. Granger and Ms. Hendricks made me feel heard and valued. However, they both left the district and the pandemic hit before our work together was able to truly start. Just because my child needs to receive specialized academic instruction, SAI, does not mean that he shouldn't have a quality education. Some families are preparing their children for college and careers. I hope that this is the case, but in reality, I'm preparing my son to be as independent as possible so he will be okay when I'm gone. I do not want to come across as a parent who's simply complaining. My son's previous and current teacher, support staff, and service providers are all amazing. He has been able to make so much progress due to their dedication and collaboration. This kind of collaborative and support should start at the district level. Teachers need communication, training, and support. I firmly believe that we must have hard conversations to grow and create change. Luckily, my son has had an amazing team. Not all students are as fortunate. Our students deserve quality educational experiences by design, not by luck. Whether it be attending an assembly, being aware of dress-up days, or being pushed to learn, students in general education and those receiving special education services should not have such stark differences in their educational and social experience. It is time for our district to lead the way in having collaborative relationships with families and model inclusive practices, rather than having this position be a revolving door that leaves our children without a true leader. Select someone who will do the work to make the changes necessary for our students to get their needs met. Your mission statement reads, the mission of the Sylvan Union School District is to provide a dynamic, broad-based education that prepares each child to be a contributing member of society. This should apply to all students. Special education is a service, not a place. The change starts with all of you. Do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or want to collaborate on anything to help make Sylvan District the best district. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter. Melissa Stone. Okay, the next one is from Arturo Archiega. My children ask me if they have to sleep with a mask on. I let them know that doing so is very dangerous. I have to remind them not to do that because they think that they will get COVID-19. I remind them that getting sick will always happen whether it be COVID or not. I remind them that they will get better if they get sick. They think they are sick because they wear masks at school and when we go to stores. This is psychologically damaging to my children. I recently found an article that proves masks are unhealthy if used more than 3 hours. Please view the link, which explains the bacteria and other pathogens built in a mask. These bacteria will guarantee children to become ill because they are constantly breathing from the inside of masks. California frontline doctors and real pediatricians said so months ago. And then he provided the link that I can share with everyone. Also, please stop promoting indoctrinations like transgenderism and Marxism in public schools. Children are not here to learn facts. Children are here to learn facts, not ideologies. There are only 2 genders according to real doctors, male and female. That's it. Please, these conversations for parents and their children. Marxism in school have segregated our children and have fooled their minds for more than 3 decades. I have seen this firsthand as a teacher. Please stop this in all grade levels. Now I'm going to read, I have 2 more left. The next one is a concerned parent sharing and wanting to voice her concerns with COVID protocols. We no longer have plexiglass, more kids, students, and staff, parents at our school sites. No mask required outside. However, we should require them at our school sites because we are dealing with unvaccinated children. Social distancing is not being enforced. Contact tracing is inadequate. Infrequent sanitizing. If a person is positive in a household, why are they being allowed to send members to school and infect others? Why is Google Class not being offered if we don't feel safe sending our children to school? As a parent, I shouldn't have to choose between my child's health or education. So I'm asking you as board members, when and who is going to stand up and say that CDC guidelines are not the one size fits all and step up to put safety protocols in place for our schools at a local level. I don't feel safe sending my children to school. What are you going to do to change? Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any more to say than this 3 minutes allow. Thank you for your time, BB. And then the final one is actually an anonymous. So they want to share their concerns about COVID protocols. They want to revert back to temperature checks at the gates. We need disposable masks in different sizes that fit kids appropriately, not the cloth ones left over from storage that are too big for little kids. We need more water cups. We need more custodial help to come around every hour to wipe down surfaces such as door handles like they did last year. We need those disinfectant machines to be sprayed and carpets vacuumed every night in our classrooms, not just twice a week like it is now. We need staff to enforce masks and be a role model. Some teachers are resistant to mask wearing. We need faster contact tracing. Teachers need more sources for packets the district wants us to give kids immediately when they go on quarantine. We need to have prep time for this. We shouldn't be doing assemblies either outdoor or not. They should be virtual. Our kids need to be 3 feet apart with masks on. And that is all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva, for reading those, and thank you to our people in our community who have expressed their ideas and opinions with the board and the community. We appreciate the input. Thank you. At this point, we are going to move on to information discussion with the superintendent's update.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Harvey. And again, thank you to our community members for sharing your thoughts and your input. Some of those topics and discussions will be discussed in our safety part of the agenda. So Ms. Albert will be giving some updates regarding some of your concerns. What I want to talk about, again, first of all, it's been a challenging start to the school year. And as you can see, we have community input. There's a lot of factors out there that we're all facing. But I, first of all, just want to give kudos to our staff. Regardless of those challenges, people have just risen to the occasion. So I just want to publicly say that and just give my appreciation to the work they've been doing. Again, we always see the challenges before us, but you got to take time to sit and see all the positive. I've been able to visit some school sites numerous occasions over this last 2 weeks, and I just see kids happy to be in school. And that was some of the questions I asked when I visited the schools. I asked kids, "Are you guys happy to be back?" And they said, "Yes." I mean, it was usually it's kind of hard sometimes to get interactions, but especially a guy in a suit comes in, they're kind of like, "Who is this guy?" But I can say it was an honest, open response that they're happy to be in schools. And we addressed, we talked about the mask. We said, this is challenging. It's, we'd rather not have to wear a mask in school, but, we're doing our part to be able to come back to school, and we're getting kids in class. So again, we're constantly adjusting, but we are following the state guidance. And, again, things are fluid. So again, I always, in my conversations, I always want people to know if I say something and then it changes, it's not because I'm just making up something new. It is a fluid situation. But again, kudos to our staff, and just happy to see kids in school. When I look compared to where we were last year, you got to always look at the positive. Man alive, look where we came from last year, and our kids are there. But we'll talk again about more safety protocols. One of the things I wanted to bring up was one of the August 11th public order from the state public health officer. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but it's a pretty heavy lift that the district is going to be addressing, that all districts in California are addressing. Again, it's just the efforts of our local agencies trying to provide a safe environment. And but it is an order. I think that's the important things. You hear things that might just be recommendations or suggestions or advice. This is actually a public order regarding working with our staff. And it basically, they were talking about research that in grades K through 6, those students are not eligible for a vaccination. And so this order was developed with that recognition that these students are not even eligible for that. And what the order talks about is it just requires verification of vaccination status among eligible K school workers. And it's interesting, they use the term workers and rather than employees. And they just wanted to have a broader, I think the intent of that was just anybody that's associated with schools. And that includes volunteers as well. It talks about establishing diagnostic screening testing for unvaccinated workers and to minimize the risk that they will transmit while on a K-12 campus. So that's the whole intent of this order. It talks about specifically, we have to verify. We had verified at this point, there was not really any clear direction until this came out, how you verified it. Now this order gives some clear guidelines that we have to actually verify that a school worker has been fully vaccinated. And they give about 6 different ways to do that. One is the vaccination card. The other is a photo of a vaccination card, a photo of the client's vaccination record card stored on a phone or electronic device. So they're trying to give some options. because, you think about those who have been vaccinated, you get this little card, and the way it was operating, you were just trying to find a place to get vaccinated if you were one of those people, and you worry, what do I do with this card? Some of us that did, we took pictures of it, or we have it on our phone, and it's nice to see that they're looking at that as a way to verify. There's also the digital record includes a QR code, and that's through a smart health card reader. And then if you also have the option, documentation of vaccination from other contracted employers. So if you had someone who had already verified it, that could also be another one. So there's clear guidelines that we're trying to grapple with in trying to verify that. Schools must have a plan in place for tracking verified worker vaccination status. So that has been our task. We have until October 15th to implement all of these. So that's one component of it. One component is just the verification. And our HR department is working on that. The other part is if you are unvaccinated and you do, or you don't produce proof of that verification, then you're required to undergo weekly testing. And that is, again, is a huge, heavy lift with that. Right now, we are exploring ways to obtain either through the state, they provide free tests, but this district is responsible for administering that program. And you have to be trained to be able to do that. And that's once a week that we're required to do that. So we're looking at options there. We're also looking at contracted services possibly for that. Again, there's a cost associated. Either way, even though we might get free tests, there's a cost associated with staff who would need to administer that. And we're working through that. And again, we're exploring contracts services because it is very hard right now to find people to hire. We're struggling with that in numerous positions. I think all the districts are in the same boat. But again, all I'm talking about with this is about staff. This is all related to school workers. We're not at this stage talking about testing for students. Some districts have been offering testing for students. Most of those are districts that are unified school districts where they had high schoolers last year where they were using tests for their athletes. So many of those districts had bought a surplus of those tests. They had staff that were trained to do that, and they had that surplus. So some districts are offering that to their students right now. Most your elementary districts didn't go into that because we weren't testing any students last year. So we are examining that, looking at the impacts of that as well. But right now, our key focus is to meet the law and the new order to ensure by October 15th, we're ready to go. We are working with our labor partners on this. It's again, with all of that, we're going through that. We're looking at a form right now that HR is working on, but we'll be discussing that with our labor partners. But we do want to get moving with that by September. Again, October 15th will be here very quickly as we learn. And anyway, I just wanted to give the board, again, an official update on that. I know we've reported out on that with our board updates, but again, that's one of our key focus right now to be compliant with this.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Moving on to annual facilities and fees report.
Is that?
Good evening, that's me. I actually have nothing to report. As stated, due to COVID, there was no facility use for the 2021 year. We've just began in this current year to allow limited use of fields with outdoor access only. Any questions?
Any questions at this time? All right, thank you so much.
Are you muted? You're muted, Mrs. Harvey. Ms. Harvey.
Sorry, thank you. Yay, technology. Yay. Having a great time here. Moving on to our action items, please. We have action item 10A, adopt resolution, sufficiency of instructional materials.
Oh, Ms. Harvey, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We need to do C. C, which is safety and facilities update.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Again, with that, we don't have anything on facilities, but I've asked Carrie Albert to give an update on our COVID and discuss some of the safety issues that were brought up.
Yes, thank you. So just wanted to report some information that's going on in our school sites, keep everyone updated. So as of today, we currently have 25 students who are currently positive for COVID and 8 staff members who are currently positive with COVID. Of course, they are home on isolation. But to update you, since the first day of school, we've had 52 students test positive for COVID and 18 staff members test positive. Last school year, we had a total of 33 students and 67 staff who tested positive for COVID for the entire school year. In the last 2 days, we've had almost 150 students considered a close contact to a positive case. So as you can imagine, there's been quite an uptick and we're quite busy managing and contact tracing. And I just want to review some of the procedures with that. So when the school site has been notified of a positive case on campus, the school team goes right to work. They first determine when the positive test was taken, when the symptoms began, if they were in close contact with a positive household member, and then the staff identifies the students who were in close contact with that positive case. They do this through a seating chart method and also talking to the students to figure out who they've been near. And a close contact is considered someone who's been within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. So as you can imagine, students who are in the middle school grades, as well as those who ride the bus or in the after school program, can have multiple close contacts. So then the team will call all the families of close contacts to inform them of these quarantine procedures that I'm going to outline for you next. The school site enters data on positive students, they enter data on close contacts, they enter data on symptomatic students, and they use this data to enable all office and nursing and administrative staff to know who should be on campus, who should be isolated, who should be quarantined, who they should be looking for negative test results or doctor's notes, releasing them back to school. The school staff also enter the positive cases and all close contacts into StanTrack, which is the county public health database. And so for each student, whether it be a positive case or a close contact, they need to enter lots of different information such as birth date, parent name, guardian, phone numbers, address, symptoms dates, COVID dates, teacher or class sizes, or just a few of the pieces of information that our staff are entering into StanTrack daily when we have a positive case on campus. And this is quite a time-consuming task, and I want to applaud our school sites for managing all of these extra duties. The California Department of Health has made some adjustments and to allow more students to actually remain in school even when they've been exposed to a positive COVID case. So they're able to do this because we are requiring masks of all individuals on our campuses, unless of course they have a medical waiver. According to the California Department of Public Health, as well as our local public health department, recent evidence indicates that in-person instruction can occur safely without barriers or minimum physical distancing requirements when all students and staff are wearing masks. They've identified that as a huge mitigation factor in the transmission of COVID-19. So as long as all individuals at school are wearing masks and when a student is exposed to a positive case, they do have a few options. So first off, if the child is vaccinated, they remain asymptomatic, meaning they have no COVID-like symptoms, they can remain in school. The vaccine is currently only available for children 12 and older, so that's normally just some of our 7th graders and our 8th graders. So for the majority of our students, for the unvaccinated students, families have 2 options when their student has come in contact with a positive COVID student or staff. if they are asymptomatic, the family can choose for the child to do what's called a modified quarantine, if they'd like to have them remain in school. So when students are attending school during a modified quarantine, they participate in all school activities. However, they have to continue to be required to wear masks indoors, and they're strongly encouraged to wear masks outdoors. They may not attend any extracurricular activities. So that at this point includes childcare, clubs, sports, and they can't participate in band if they play a wind or a brass instrument. Now we are checking with the state to determine if they will allow childcare programs, students to attend childcare programs. But at this point, our local public health is saying no until they get more information, because that's considered outside of the school day. In order to do a modified quarantine, the family must agree to have twice weekly COVID testing for the child during their quarantine window. And this test must be done by a medical professional. We can't use a home kit on this one. So if the family does not want to have their child tested twice weekly, they can quarantine their child for 10 days. They don't have to test their child. This is just if they want to have their student remain at school. So if they don't want to test their child, they can quarantine their child for 10 days. And then even with quarantine, they have a couple of options. So if they choose to have the child stay in quarantine, they have the option to request a short-term independent study contract from the school office. So that would mean that the child is going to get provided independent study work at home, and they won't be counted as absent. They actually will receive independent study credit in place of the absence. But if a family doesn't want to request an independent study, they don't have to. The child's not going to be penalized. It's just that the child would not be expected to complete that independent study work, and they would just receive an excused absence. Okay, so then there's been some questions around students who are symptomatic, meaning that those kids that come in, we don't know if they're COVID positive or not, but they're coming in demonstrating COVID-like symptoms. They're coming in demonstrating fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle, body aches, headaches, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Those students do have to stay home in isolation, and they have 3 options. So if they're having any of those symptoms, they can come back to school if they either have a negative COVID test, if they provide a medical note stating that the condition is not COVID related, or if they choose to isolate for the full 10 days. Additionally, any student who is tested positive must also remain in isolation for 10 days. They actually are not able to use those other options to get out of isolation. So hopefully that helped clear some things up. Lots of this has come out to parents over the last couple of weeks in frequently asked questions. We also have written communication for families of close contact that we just started using this week to better explain, because I'm sure as you're listening to me, you may have had some questions like, oh my gosh, wait, what? What's the modified quarantine? When can you stay? When do you go in? And so it's all written in print as well for our families.
Thank you, Ms. Albert. I just want to make one more comment. Again, when the legislature they were anticipating this guidance coming out from CDPH about students all wearing masks and the reduction in requirements on as far as mitigation of social distancing and all the barriers and plastic things. When they knew they were going to do that, the legislature, which didn't give us a whole lot of time, in July, the middle of July, gave an independent study option. And that's the reason they did that. And the whole intent of requiring districts to offer a whole new independent study option was for parents who did not feel that it was safe for their children to go to school for medical reasons. So again, parents need to know they have that option, and that if they don't feel like their child is safe, or they don't want their child to wear a mask and follow the guidelines, then we have an independent study option that we've worked very hard to create. And so we just want to make sure that that's out there, and that parents understand that. And I think Ms. Albert has done a great job in putting that program together, and we've been communicating that to families. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that update. Any questions at the time? Ms. Lindsay?
Yes, Miss Albert, could you please explain to parents the difference between the possible amount of time the child appears to be out of school. For example, I'm going to just throw this out there. One of my grandchildren got sent home because she was exposed. She had to fulfill the full 10 days. The other one was only had to 7 days, but it was based on the fact that she was exposed 3 days earlier. So could you
Yes,
explain that to
yes.
people?
Absolutely. So we are not able to predict when a family member is going to have a student tested and how quickly those test results are going to come back. For example, there could be a student that goes to school today, ends up exhibiting some COVID-like symptoms, and they get sent home. Their parent may be able to get them into a rapid test right away, and before the school day is over, they might be able to tell the administration that their child has tested positive. And so in that case, what would happen is the school administration and the nursing staff would contact families and would let the families know that if they're going to do the 10-day isolation, that they would need to do that 10 full days. Now, what often happens is maybe, for example, today is Tuesday, the 24th. Maybe a student woke up Friday morning, the 20th. They didn't feel so well. And so they stayed home from school, meaning their last day on campus was the 19th. And then over the weekend, maybe the family has the student tested. Maybe they take what's called a PCR test, and those take a couple days to get back. And so we're not notified until the 24th or the 25th that the student was positive. Now, those students that were exposed to that positive student were exposed to them on the 19th. And so therefore, they would only need to quarantine for 10 days after the 19th. So as you can see, in that case, your quarantine window from the time you're notified is going to be much shorter. But we are reporting the moment we know that a student's positive. It just might not be the last time that the student was on campus and exposing a child. That's why the window might be shorter, even though you're getting contacted, on the same day that someone knew that day that they were positive.
Thank you. I appreciate that because it was confusing for me, and I'm sure that it's confusing for other people.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions at this time? Thank you so much. Appreciate the update. Now we're going to move on to action item 10A, adopt resolution sufficiency for instructional materials.
Good evening. Sylvan Union District provides each student in grades K-8 with sufficient instructional materials in each content area consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum adoption and frameworks. We have in mathematics, science, English language arts, histories, and social science, all of our students have sufficient textbooks and materials within Sylvan Union District. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt a resolution 2021-2022 number 3, sufficient textbooks, instructional materials for students and staff.
Thank you so much. Are there any
Make a
questions? at this
motion to
point?
approve.
Thank you. Motion's been
Second.
made. Second by Miss Lindsay, although I did see Miss Talcott. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott.
You got a thumbs up?
Aye.
Okay. Board Member Harvey,
Aye. The motion's been approved. Thank you. Action item 10B, adopt resolution, school attendance awareness month.
That would be me. Research has shown that regular school attendance may be one of the biggest factors in influencing academic success. And by attending class regularly, children are more likely to keep up on daily lessons and assignments and take these positive habits with them to high school, college, and the workforce. Students who attend regularly are more likely to pass reading and math assessments than students who don't attend regularly. For older students, being in school every day gives them a chance to learn more about college, and take important exams that you need to build a successful academic record. Being present at school means children are learning how to be good citizens by participating in school community, learning valuable social skills, and developing a broader worldview. Our commitment to school attendance will also send a message to our children and their families that education is priority. Going to school every day is a critical part of the educational, academic, and economic success. And so this resolution affirms our commitment to regular school attendance, not just in the month of September, but throughout the entire school year.
Thank you so much. And who wouldn't want to come to our amazing schools, right?
Right?
I make the motion.
Motion's made by Miss Lindsay,
Second.
seconded by Miss Talcott. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Action item 10C, approved clinical practicum agreement with CSU Northridge.
Thank you. Our district works closely with universities and colleges to support programs that are connected to careers in education. And we have particular interest in things such as speech language pathology. So staff recommends the Board of Trustees approve the attached clinical practicum agreement with CSU Northridge's program for the Masters of Science.
So
Thank you.
moved.
Thank you so much. Motion's been made by Mr. Raw,
Second.
second by Miss Lindsay. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. Motion's been made, or motion's been carried. Thank you very much. 10C, 10D, approved contract with Summit Plumbing.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'd like to bring forward for your consideration this evening the contract with Summit Plumbing for the replacement of approximately 380 feet of sewer line at Sherwood Elementary.
Are there any questions at this time?
Yes, I do
Thank
have a question.
All right, Miss Lindsay.
Yes, I was reading through the information and it still concerns me a little bit that we didn't get that third bid. I understand that there was only, it's very difficult. I've tried to get bids like that before myself. But I'm just a little concerned that if it was deemed that difficult by one of our local companies, why was it not deemed that difficult by the other companies?
Well, that's a great question, actually. One I ask quite often myself. It appears that there's tiers of service from plumbing outfits in the area that up to a certain point, they just don't find it economically viable to go after certain projects once they get beyond a certain scope. And often that is safety related or equipment related. They would have to go out and rent the backhoe or the tractor in order to do the work to the depth that this work calls out for. And most of this is at least 4 feet deep, and some of it is 6 to 8 feet deep. And there's a whole host of safety considerations when you get to that depth with OSHA and California DSA.
I guess my concern is I've never heard of this company. Are they local?
Summit? Yes,
Yes.
they are a local company, yes. And we've
So do they mostly commercial work? Is that what they do?
yes,
Okay.
that's pretty much their ballpark, so to speak.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions at this time? Looking for a motion to approve?
So move.
Miss Lindsay, motion's made by Miss Lindsay, second by Miss Talcott. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. Motion's been approved. Moving on to 10E, approved contract with Brazos Urethane for roof hatch installation. Well, that sounds amazing.
Yes, we hope it will be. Yes, tonight I bring forward to you the contract with Brazos Thermal Systems for the installation of 15 new roof hatches at 4 of our sites. This repair is badly needed, long overdue. And I'll take any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions at this time? Miss Lindsay, your hand is up. Is that
Oh,
from the
I'm
previous
sorry.
question? No, that's
No,
okay. Did you have a
That's
question on
because
this
I'm
one?
too lazy to take it down. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're excited about our new roof hatches. Hey, it's important, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Absolutely.
no questions at this time. Looking for a motion to approve,
So move.
made by Mr. Raw, second by Ms. Talcott, roll call vote.
Board Member Levensey,
Aye.
Board Member Roth,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye, motion approved. Moving on to approval of governance goals.
Mark, can you put up the PDF? Yeah, there it goes. Great, thank you. Again, presenting to the board, I gave a draft last spring and been working through these. And again, as I looked at our governance goals for this next year, I really tried to tie it into the theme that we've been dealing with coming back after a year of COVID. Even though we're still in the middle of it, it has a different flavor, still impacting us. But again, the importance of trying to restore not only our students and our staff from last year, the impact, but also trying to reset and get moving again with the work that the district was doing beforehand. We had a lot of great projects and efforts, especially in the area of student achievement, working with professional learning communities, and again, the multi-tier systems of support. So I really tried with these goals. I'm trying to make it very realistic to match the environment we're in. We still have an LCAP. The LCAP is much more scripted with actions and services. This is more a focus that working with the board just really is impacting us right now. So with our first goal, again, addressing the social emotional impacts of the pandemic. And what you can see on here are the specific actions that we're looking at to move forward with that goal. And one of the other important things, and again, as we worked on this last year, we were kind of scrambling with what are the metrics? How are you going to measure that? And so we've really tried to be proactive this year in developing those and showing the board what our intent is to measure. So when you come back with your fall, when I come back in the fall to give you an update, I'll be using these metrics for that. I'm not going to go through each goal. Again, our theme, first of all, is restore. That's one of our number one priorities right now. And a lot of efforts going in with it. You can see the actions. Some of those are already completed, with our welcome back meeting. The staff, our principal sites have already been looking at their student support systems there, their SEL programs. And so the second goal, again, resetting our professional development. Amber Weathern and her department in Ed Services is moving, had a lot of work before school started and continuing to meet with grade levels to move forward. And again, I'm excited about the results we're going to get with that. Mr. Raw had brought up last spring, I believe, a concern that we didn't have a specific goal for academics in this. And even though our LCAP covers that, I felt like that was a good suggestion. So I added to goal number 2, an action of implementing academic assessments in the fall to really determine and measure where our students are in English language arts and math. And I put over on the right, the metrics. Those are the tools we're going to be using. Some of those are new, and Ms. Weathern and her department Ed Services are working with our staff. Now, one of the challenges at the end of the year, we had to give spring assessments, and we had an option. We could use the regular state testing, or you could choose your own district testing. We used MobyMax. Again, it gives us some data, but again, all those were taken at home. And so testing fidelity, it's a ballpark. So we are going to be using that as our beginning of the year benchmark, even though we're not necessarily going to use MobyMax again to measure that assessment, but at least gives our staff an idea of where students left off in the spring. And the other ones with our Fast Bridge, that will be the one we'll be measuring. They're taking it right now, or well, in the near future, this in the fall, and it'll be measuring ELA and math. So based upon that, we'll be, it goes with that goal with our whole professional learning communities. That's what our staff are doing anyway. They're assessing students, providing interventions, working with each other on those strategies. But specifically, I just want to put a goal in there. So that's new from what I had in previously. Okay, the next page of this. Okay, and then not grades, goals 3. This one we jumped right on. So again, when I put it in there, it was before we actually knew this was going to happen. And it came very quickly. So I'm really pleased with what we've been able to create another educational option, but we'll continue to monitor it. And one of the metrics we're going to use is what's our enrollment look like, and just feedback we receive from both staff and families that chose to go on to independent study. And then our 4th goal, this is one, that trying to keep enthusiasm with this and move forward with it. It's an exciting one, but I tell you what, trying to move forward with anything innovative, and that's the reshaping one. That's the exciting part. Dealing with all this COVID issues right now is making it challenging for us, but we're moving forward with it anyway, working with our leadership team. The intent was to have our feeder elementary schools, that whatever school that they go into in the middle school, just have better articulation between. We gave colors to each team based upon what the middle school is. And our goal for the first trimester is to, 1, focus on the social emotional aspects this year. That's our goal. And we're going to have activities, if we can, with all the COVID restrictions possibly. Again, it's always a caveat. Our desire is to have activities where our middle school would either be hosting it or would be coming to the elementaries that feed, and just have those chance for those kids in the elementary to connect and see what their future is for middle schools. So, okay. Anyway, as far as that's my goals, I'll be talking with the board more about it and giving you an update later this fall.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions at this time about the governance goals?
Yes, me.
All right, Miss Lindsay.
Yes, Mr. Frederickson, thank you very much for the update. I'm not confused because I understand what governance is, but are these basically your goals, the superintendent's goals? Because in the past, we've called them superintendent's goals and separating the board goals and the superintendent goals. So is this what you would consider superintendent goals?
Yes, I mean, what we talked about last year was, given all the things we're facing with the COVID and all that, we were trying to streamline between our LCAP goals and the goals that I'm working on with the board. So we kind of have more of a laser focus. So that's kind of the intent, was to take the wishes of the board and put them into my goals and move forward. And again, all of the assistant superintendents will be aligning their goals with the goals that I've established with that. But if the board feels like there's more that needs to be added, any specific goals, we can do that as well. Yeah.
I'm not going for that. What I'm trying to do is, and by putting them all together and funneling them into each other, it's going to be very hard to evaluate for us to understand what our goals were in relationship to the governance goals. So is there a way that you could possibly show us what our goals are in relationship to the governance goals? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we plan? We have our fall board retreat
Mhm.
Why don't we make that our discussion item?
Okay, that sounds
That
good.
way- Yeah, that way we can fine tune that.
Okay, my second question is, now, because several years ago, one of the board's main goals was to look at a strong independent study program for Sylvan School District, based so pretty much on for students that were going to be out of class, expulsions, suspensions, illnesses, whatever it might be, to avoid for them having to go on to county or other district, locations. I was wondering, is there any way now that we have we've kind of streamlined a really good independent study? Is there any way that we can look at possibly streaming that into a permanent thing in Sylvan District so that one, we don't lose ADA. Two, the most important is when students are out on expulsions or suspensions, they come back to us. They're not ready to come back. They've lost a lot of school, most of them. This way, we could certainly keep them on track with their class as they're working. And thirdly, I think the fact that they would be meeting with their teacher on maybe once a week or something would be ideal for them to keep them connected to Sylvan School District instead of feeling like they've been ripped apart, put somewhere else, and then, okay, now you can come back. And I guess now that you've done it, I'm just hoping that we be able to continue this as one of the completions of one of our longtime goals to do. So is there any hope of being able to implement that and we kind of work with it?
Yeah, I can let Carrie speak to that too. But again, what the legislature did with independent study was pretty radical. They changed independent study legislation that had been there for 40 years. So this is intended to go on. So I think the program that Carrie created, I think for sure that can be something that we use into the future. But she can add to that if she'd like.
No, that was well said. We just have to make sure that we're doing everything that, legally we're supposed to do. And we'll just bridge it, when we get to that point to determine if we're legally able to do that. Then, Mrs. Lindsay, I was on that committee as well. So we're looking for those educational options for those students for sure.
Yeah, I know you're in my ballpark. So I'm not gonna let this one go. So I'm hanging on to it. So I was hoping. So anyway, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Mr. Frederickson.
You bet.
Are there any other questions at this time? All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve the goals.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Raw,
Second.
second by Miss Lindsay, excuse me.
Board Member Lindsay,
Hi.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
I see an aye from Ms. Talcott.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. It's been approved. Thank you so much. Moving on to approve amended employment contract, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. And at this time, I will be reading something. Is that correct, Mr. Frederickson? Ms.
Yes.
Silva?
Mhm.
Okay. Approval amended employment contract, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Approving the amendment employee agreement with Dee Peterson to serve, Deolinda Dee Peterson to serve as the District Superintendent of Human Resources for the period commencing July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The employment agreement states that Ms. Peterson is at step 7 on the certificated management salary with an annual compensation of $159,004. Ms. Peterson shall also receive an annual stipend for $2,305 for a master's degree. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Mr. Raw, second by Ms. Talcott. Roll call vote.
No, me.
Sorry, Miss Lindsay.
Mhm.
Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Hi.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott, Board Member Harvey,
Aye, motion has approved. Thank you very much. Appreciate your service. Approved job description for Assistant Superintendent of Student Services.
Okay, let me make sure, yeah, I just want to make sure it wasn't muted. Again, as we've looked at this last year with the demand on the district, and looking especially with COVID, but even just long-term, as we're starting to look at innovative programs we want to do, looking at independent study, that was a good example. I'm glad Ms. Lindsay brought that up. Just looking at some of the needs in the district, looking at our current structure, we've had a director of student services. What I have found in my first year here, but my experience from many years of working in districts, is you start to identify need. And what quickly started happening last year is I started seeing in the area of student services just a higher level of responsibility and need for the district. And so based upon that, you're going to see a couple of actions that will be coming up regarding that. But the first part is creating a new job description where I'm changing the director position to a assistant sup position to meet those responsibilities. We won't be backfilling the director position. Many of the responsibilities that are already part of that go into that new job description. Plus I put on top the 2 or 3 new ones that justify, I feel, for that change. So I recommend approval.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Second by Ms. Talcott. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. Thank you very much. The motion's been approved. Approval of revised certificate management salary schedule.
And again, that goes along, kind of going in sequence here. First I had to approve the job description, and now adding that job title to the certificate management salary schedule. It matches the salary for the other assistant sups on that schedule.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made by Mr. Raw. Second by Ms. Talcott. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye. The motion has been approved. Thank you very much. Next one, improvement of employment contract. Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. Approving the employment agreement with Carrie Albert to serve as the District Assistant Superintendent of Student Services for the period commencing July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The employment agreement states that Ms. Albert is at step 2 on the certificate management salary schedule with an annual compensation of $140,804. Ms. Albert shall also receive an annual stipend of $2,305 for a master's degree. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion's made by Ms. Lindsay,
Second.
second by Mr. Raw. Looking for a roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey,
Aye, the motion has been approved. Thank you, Ms. Albert, for your service.
Wait. Congratulations, Carrie.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
well,
Thank you.
I'm thrilled. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Much deserved, much deserved. Thank you, board.
Thank you. And thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to adopt 2022 board meeting schedule.
Yeah,
Are there
we-
any questions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We reviewed that at the last meeting, so just looking for approval.
All right.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just the one thing that I just wanted to point out, and I think we have flexibility, is I see that our budget adoption is June 21st. Sometimes in past years, we needed to actually push it almost all the way to the end of June, another week. So I'm fine with it where it is. If we can make that deadline, a lot of times we need all the way to the end of June because Sacramento, quite frankly, sometimes just can't make up their mind what they're doing there with numbers. And it just kind of makes us push to the end. But if we need to make that adjustment later, fine. But I noticed that this year it was moved up a week, and I think traditionally we do it the last week in June, the last Tuesday in June.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Yeah, we can just kind of see what the lay of the land is, and if we
Okay.
need to make that adjustment, we can
Was-
make.
Mr. Frederickson, what was the purpose of moving it up a week?
I think we were just matching it to what we had before last year. I know at time with the LCAP, because we have to bring the LCAP for a public hearing and a second approval. So I thought we just aligned it with what we were doing last year as
Okay.
far as weeks, but we can take. a closer
Okay,
look
it's
at
no
it.
big deal. It's no
Yeah.
big deal. I just wondered why. Okay.
Well, and I noticed too that it was only 2 weeks apart from June 7th, when traditionally we're 3 weeks apart. So I mean, maybe it just happened. It's not a biggie to me. It was something I noticed when I was looking at the date. So,
Yeah.
Okay. But if you want to approve this one, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Lindsay. Roll call vote.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the Mrs. Lindsay second,
Mr. Raw made
the motion?
the
Thank
motion.
you.
And Ms. Lindsay, second. Yes. Roll
Board
call.
Member Lindsay,
Aye.
Board Member Raw,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott, Board Member Harvey.
Aye, the motion has been adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with our consent agenda, which is looking pretty beefy, are there any questions or, well, first of all, is there anything that'd like to be removed for a separate vote?
I don't have anything I want removed. I just have a question.
Okay, hold on to that thought. Let me just make sure that there's nothing that needs to be removed. Checking. Okay, great. Yes, Miss Lindsay. And then secondly, questions, Miss Lindsay?
Yes, I guess I have and maybe I'm on the wrong, maybe because I'm not having it open right now, and I may be thinking of something else, but was there an increase in the cost with the Modesto City School? What was the purpose of that increase in cost? I believe it was quite large, if I'm not mistaken.
Are we looking at
We're looking at the memorandum. Let's see, where is it?
for deaf and hard and hearing?
Yes, number F.
Okay.
Yes,
Could
I
someone
can
address
take that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I can take that. And so what happens is they create the MOU in terms of the services and supports and the number of students in the programming and the services and supports that those students receive. They make it for a higher amount, a not to exceed amount, so that in case services were to increase, for example, maybe a student might need occupational therapy or speech therapy or different services added to their IEP, then those costs would be added. So this is the high end. Last year, we didn't pay nearly this much.
Right.
So that this is like a high end estimate, not to exceed, but they only bill us for what services and supports the students actually receive. And you know how IEPs are throughout the year, things can change for a student, services can drop or services can add. And so this is just a safe kind of estimate for them to have that not to exceed MOU in place.
Okay, I appreciate that and I understand, but do we have a breakdown of the price of hours and things? Do we know, like, have they already broken it down to tell you how much it is per hour or something?
They will bill us. And so what I can do is I can see if, I don't think they've billed us yet since the school year has just started, but they do bill us throughout the year. And so what I can do is I can see what I can get to share.
Yeah,
Add
I
that
think
to a
it
Friday
would be,
update. Would you like me to see what I could break down and add to a Friday update?
sure. I think it's important that we see the increase, because if the not to exceed keeps exceeding the year before, we need to know if they're exceeding their costs to us also. You
Absolutely.
understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I think, I'm not opposed to it or anything like that. I just want to I'd like to know how much we're being charged per hour or however they do it like that.
Okay, yeah, they break it down like a fee for service like we do with the SELPA. So I'll see what
Right.
I can get and add that information to a Friday update.
Super. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much. I see Mr. Raw's hand up, just clarifications. So Miss Lindsay, you're okay with this being part of the consent agenda?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Mr. Raw, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just had a question. It's just a follow-up to the question that I submitted in writing to just get a clarification on it regarding the purchase of additional Chromebooks, which I don't have a problem with. I just want to make sure that the board is kept apprised either through a Friday update or a board presentation. It was noted that the additional Chromebooks were bought because of either broken Chromebooks or lost Chromebooks or something. And I remember Mrs. Lindsay bringing up a question at a previous board meeting, whether we would be brought up to date on when I think it was associated with self-insurance or something. My mind is a little scattered right now, but just some type of report on how many of these Chromebooks are we losing either to damage or loss, and just tracking them. And traditionally, when we buy new Chromebooks of large quantities, it's usually brought as an action item. I'm wondering if we're going to still continue that practice, and just knowing what's happening with these either damaged or broken Chromebooks. I mean, I don't know if we're talking 10, 100, 200, 300, I really don't know. So I'm just looking for information. It doesn't affect the vote on a consent agenda, just keeping us informed, because it's like we're this big ship that's sailing now out there with all these electronic devices. It's just shocking that we have this infrastructure behind us,
Right.
and how we're going to maintain it over the coming years. I know we bought a lot of this stuff with COVID money. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable into the future. But now that we do have a couple of bucks in the bank that we can manage it, trying to just figure out our processes and procedures and what is our potential losses on these things, and just that
Mr.
kind of
Raw,
thing.
Mr. Raw, I do very much remember that conversation. And I do believe that Mrs. Reed told us that we had bought Chromebooks last year, and that they were there for the specific purpose of being there for broken and damaged. So I guess I agree with you. I don't understand. Are we replacing the ones that are in hold for repaired and damaged, or are we actually out of Chromebooks and we need to order more? Because we ordered a lot last spring when we ordered for the COVID.
I just want to get some clarity, Mr. Raw. Which agenda item is this that you're talking about?
Warrants.
Which
It's in the warrants.
one are we looking at?
I think it's like, let me look right here.
Sorry, I'm going through a consent agenda. I don't see it.
It's the warrant one. Hold on a second.
Means making stuff obsolete?
No.
I'm sorry.
Under consent, it would be item C, ratification of checks.
Ratification of checks. Okay, I see. Thank you very much for that clarification. Thank you.
Yeah.
So maybe, Mr. Raw, we're looking for kind of a, I don't know, soft technology update maybe, or a roving technology update. So stuff that's portable, maybe something like that. Would that be helpful?
I submitted the question in writing, and I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to figure out, in the future, are we going to get this in a Friday update? Will it be a board presentation? There was some concern about, what is our loss because we did an insurance policy, and it's just trying to wrap our minds around all this infrastructure that we have now and managing it. And is it what we thought?
So kind of like a short-term, long-term plan for the roving technology that we give, that we let our students use? Is that what you're kind of looking for?
Well, I actually, we can have our technology guy technology director just answer what he thinks
Okay.
the best way to do that.
All right.
Yeah, we are currently going through all the different inventory because all these Chromebooks that were purchased throughout the years are in our inventory system. However, they were purchased with multiple POs, so it's just been a little bit of a trick getting the exact numbers down, but they are there, and I am compiling a list that we will provide. But yes, the short answer is there are quite a few in repair status, and it's been a challenge keeping up with the ones coming in versus the ones being repaired and going out. We do, for the most part, repair our Chromebooks when we can. But they don't, once they come in, they get assessed by the technicians. Then they get, it's determined if they're going to be discarded or if they're going to be used for parts. And so it's just, it's an ongoing process. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of damaged items that came in at the end of last year that were not discovered till basically they were being handed out this year. Just from, it's kind of a learning process with all the technology. So we are in the process of getting all the inventory kind of dialed out and which schools have how much and how we can redistribute. But in the meantime, we're looking at just making sure that students were not missing out on learning at the moment. So that's why we put through the order.
Well, what happened to the ones that we ordered that were extra? Because I do remember that we ordered extra on that huge order that we did last spring.
Miss
What
Lindsay,
happened to all those?
yeah, Miss Lindsay and Mr. Raw, what we'd like to do at this point, I want to give Mark the opportunity to get his feet on the ground and get a real clear assessment of what's there. We will come back with a detailed presentation to the board about, one, inventory, and two, about what our needs are for the future. I mean, we bought so many last year because of the distance learning. I mean, a one-on-one device for every child in the district. So you got 8,000 users. So it's really, it's a pretty monumental shift that we made last year. So I want to give Mark the opportunity to get his feet on the ground, get a clear inventory, and then let us come back and give a full presentation. Because I think it's going to even be a bigger discussion about what the needs are. Just like Mr. Raw, you mentioned, if you've got people that are struggling keeping up with things, do we find some resources to keep those people going? Technology may be one of those areas, but I don't want to do that without us getting a clear picture of what our inventory is and what our needs are.
Mr. Frederickson, may I ask, because this has been one of my nitpickers for years and years, this feels like it's almost hidden in the warrants. I would prefer that when we have something like this kind of a purchase, that it's put on an action item so that it's clear and for everybody to know what's happening. And so could I ask that when we have something like this, being purchased, that it would either be on action. Well, it needs to be in action. That's where it needs to be.
And I don't disagree with that. Actually, with kind of the situation we're dealing with right now, I think transparency and understanding for the board, if that improves that, we're totally on board with doing that. So again, I just want to let Mark get the opportunity to get, things. It's a huge task. It's a huge task, especially after what we dealt with last year, all the transition in the Ed Services Department, and to the volume of devices that we bought and were used. And you think about even some of those that were used in the past, they didn't necessarily go home every day, and they weren't the primary tool of education. So last year was an anomaly that I think we're still grappling with. But we need to give you some clear information, clear count, and then start fresh. And that's what I'd like to do with this. And then, like I said, we'll make those action items in the future.
Great.
Okay.
Mr. Raw has a question.
Yeah, just one other thought, and I know this is out in left field, but there's a lot of career colleges either here locally or in the surrounding area that deal with a level of technology. And I know that Mark may be familiar with, some of them out there. I was just wondering if it would be wise or not wise, as being a former owner of a career college, it would have been nice if districts reached out to us and said, we would like to have your students come over who are in these certification programs, whether they're engineers or hardware, to come over and do service or experience in your school district, maybe one day a week for a few hours, to assist in minor repairs or work on equipment. I know that in my school that I ran MCSE certification programs, A+ certification programs. It would have been nice to be able to let my students go out there and experience what it was like in the real life world of working on this hardware and so forth. And it might be helpful. I don't know if you really want to go down that path, but it's just a thought that it would have, as an owner of a career college in the past, it would have been nice to get some hands-on experience for our guys, So anyway, just food for thought.
I like that idea.
Excellent. Thank you so much. With that, Mr. Ra, are you comfortable with keeping that inside?
Yes.
consent
Oh,
agenda?
absolutely. Yeah. It was just
Okay,
a
great.
question.
All right, great. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion's by Ms. Talcott,
Second.
second by Mr. Ra. Roll call vote.
Board Member Lindsay,
Hi.
Board Member Ra,
Aye.
Board Member Talcott,
Aye.
Board Member Harvey.
Aye, the consent agenda has been approved. Thank you very much. Future agenda items, next regular board meeting is September 14th. Very exciting. Our fall governance team retreat is September 28th. TBT place. Thank you so much, our Sylvan community, for being here and part of this. Thank you for our Sylvan students for being a part of this amazing community. You are why we are here. And thank you for all of the adults for making it amazing for our students. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And everyone have a very lovely evening. Good night.
Congratulations, Mrs. Alberts
Yes, thank you.
and Mrs. Peterson.
And Mrs. Peterson. Yes, very exciting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, fellow board members. I appreciate your guidance.
Good
You're
job.
welcome.
Harvey,
Good
on-
job. Good job,
Thank you.
Christine.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've had good leaders
Yeah,
and a good team.
nicely
All
done.
right. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Really, really appreciate everything. Thank you.
Good night.
Yay.
Yay, it's done.
Oh, new day. All right. Thanks again. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Sean. Good night, Sylvan Zoom.